We'll call the meeting to order. I know there's folks signing in, and so you can just continue to sign in, no problem with that. But I do want to get us started because we've got a limited amount of time, and I want to make sure that we have as much time for questions and comments as we can get at the end. So this is a great crowd. Really appreciate everybody being out here. I wish we had this many folks at our normal council meetings, but we'll take them where we can get them. So thank you for coming out. All right, so let me call this meeting to order. Russell, if you can please call the roll.
Certainly, Mayor. Mayor Brykers?
Here.
Vice Mayor Albritton? Here. Councilmember Hartman?
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Here.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Awesome, thank you. If you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Thank you again, everyone who's come out. We really appreciate it. We're going to kind of have two sections to this evening's meeting. First, we're very pleased to have Dr. Erica Garcia here to give a presentation on things that we can do for our animals to prepare them, to protect them, to do as much as we can to limit the impact of fireworks. We're trying as a council to do everything we can from a communication standpoint or whatever. Right now our hands are pretty much tied from a legislative standpoint because there's some state laws that we have to comply with. But there's other things we can do to help get the word out, and from a council and administration standpoint, we're trying to do our best to get that out there. So, but this was something we wanted to have the opportunity for Dr. Garcia to come out, excuse me, and to kind of give us some thoughts on what we can do to protect our animals. So let me just kick it off there. Yeah. Just from the highest level is the state of Florida says that fireworks you can set them off 362 days a year, except for 3 days a year. I'm sorry, 3 days a year. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. But I went on that. But so for the other 362, yeah, it is restricted. But unfortunately, we have the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and 4th of July, when we have to prepare our animals for those. And so that's why we're coming up against 2 of those days here, and that's why.
Again, just a question, why are we limited by the state law? More restrictive in the city than we are, or the town than we are in the state?
Because the state specifically says that they are legal on those.
Yes.
Well, let's get to the program, okay? Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, if Dr. Garcia could come up. Oh, thank you. There you are.
Okay. I'm Dr. Garcia. You guys don't know me. This presentation was just kind of asked to show what effect fireworks have on animals, and then some of the things that we can do to try and put that.
It's on.
Am I okay? Like there?
Yeah, maybe you can turn the mic a little bit more towards you. Thank you.
Better?
Better.
Okay. So just some of the things that, you can expect from the animals, the effect in the animals, and also how we can kind of counter some of those effects. So if you want to hit the first.
You look good, Steve.
Yeah.
Just need a
Thanks.
fuller beard.
So
Red coat.
when I looked at what I sent, some of these may have gotten out of order, so if it seems a little jumbled, I'll do my best here. Whatever. Okay. Is that? Okay.
Just turn it off.
So the effects of fireworks on animals, depending on the animal that you're talking about, obviously there's a multitude of different effects. Most of our guys have a flight response, especially with the horses. Running and flying into objects, I go into that a little bit more, causing death or injury. heart attacks, and obviously a huge amount of anxiety. So these are some images of some of the injuries that I've dealt with over the years pertaining to fireworks, loud noises. Horses love to run into things. This horse in the upper left-hand corner actually ran into something and ended up losing that eye. The other ones, this is 3 different horses, but they're just degloving injuries. I personally don't know of a horse death. I'm sure it happens, but it's obviously an issue that horse owners have to deal with. There's definitely a monetary problem with this because, as we all know, vet bills are expensive and nobody wants to see their animal injured. Livestock. Goats tend to run, sheep run, animals are scared of the loud noises. I'm going to offer some suggestions that we can do to kind of prevent this, but they can run out of their gates, they can run through gates, they can have injuries. So our dogs, which, I mean, not everybody in Southwest Ranches has livestock, but I think most everybody has a dog or a cat. These guys get super stressed. There are certain breeds that tend to be predisposed, but they'll hide and shake. They will run, they'll run away. Probably the #1 time at the vet's office that we see animals that are lost is because of the 4th of July or New Year's Day. We get a huge amount. Owner opens the door, dog takes off. Sometimes they get found, sometimes they don't. I think we went, yeah. And then there's my little hiding dog. Next one. This is supposed to be not there, but this was one of the things that we can do to kind of counter the loud noise. Again, some breeds overrepresented, the golden retriever for sure. They tend to do real well with this. This is a thunder shirt, and the concept is just kind of like a baby. If you swaddle them, they tend to feel a little more comforted. It works in some animals, it doesn't work in all. Again, golden retrievers seem to do well with this, and there's a bunch of different ones you can buy. One of the other behaviors was destruction. Tons of stories about couches being eaten, kitchens being gutted. The other problem with that is when dogs get destructive, sometimes they consume these. So now you're talking about foreign bodies as well. So we see those for the stress eaters too. Okay, cats. Cats can become aggressive because they're cats. We have owner bites, things like that happen if somebody's trying to settle their cat and the cat's anxious. People get bit. Again, cats run away. They get lost. If a cat runs out of its yard or its neighborhood because of loud noises, they can get hit by cars. Even cats that are normally outside and don't go into the street, again, the loud noise startles them. And they'll hide too as well. This was just an interesting, there's a ton of them, but we mentioned the running and flying into things. This is an actual true thing. In 2010, there was a New Year's Eve celebration in Arkansas, and approximately 5,000 red-winged blackbirds collided with buildings, cars, and trees. And they did it in an area where they don't normally light off fireworks. And all of a sudden, somebody decided one year that they were just going to have a big New Year's Eve celebration, and the birds went ballistic. So if you've ever been home and all of a sudden you hear birds smack into your glass, and they sometimes they get startled, but sometimes they die. And in this case, it was a very sad occasion. I'm a reptile breeder, and just kind of a silly thing just to show you. Reptiles as well are affected, believe it or not. And this is a little gecko here, and if you make a loud noise sometimes and they get startled or scared, they'll drop their tails, which they don't die, but they don't regrow either. So nobody likes that. Part of the other problem too, what goes up must come down. So all of these fireworks have debris. Animals eat the debris. The debris is bad for the environment. I mean, it's just the wildlife. So another thing that we see with wild critters, not so much our pets, but they will abandon their young if they get scared. It happens a lot in rabbits, but also squirrels. Cats will leave their dens. I mean, there's just always, if they're a frightened animal, I mean, sometimes they don't have that maternal instinct. So now you've got potential loss of a mother and death of their young. So here are some suggestions that you can try to make it a little better for you. Distraction. Hay, if you have a ruminant, if you have a horse, maybe a little extra hay. It's just something to do. Just a kind of aside with the hay, everybody says, well, what do you see most colics? Right now, we see a lot of cold weather colics, so normally it's a little colder. Our animals, because they're so used to being warm, drink a lot. When the temperature snaps, it gets a little cold. If you're going to feed extra hay, always make sure you have fresh water available, just super important. What do you do with your livestock? So again, with the distraction, obviously that's a giant barn. I don't think we have any like that. But if your horses are used to being outside, maybe don't keep them in the field. Bring them into stalls. Same thing with your goats, your sheep. Music, it's just another loud noise. So just something else to take their mind off of what's going on outside. Turn the volume up, distraction, anything you can do. I love these. If you go to horse shows, you probably know what these are too, the little palms. These are fantastic. They're cheap. You can buy them online. They're little squish golf balls. You just put them in the horse's ears. It doesn't take away the sound completely, but it helps. You can use them in livestock. You can use cotton balls. I think these are more effective because they're a little denser. Better living through chemistry. If you are comfortable with these products, Ace Promazine for horses, we have tablets, we have injectable. The Dormosidan gel's been real big lately. Everybody likes that because they can have their horse's body clipped and the farrier can come out. But it's real simple. It just goes in the mouth under the tongue. And this is a new product that came out for the dog, Cilio. And it was actually designed for dogs that have fear with fireworks and loud noises, thunderstorms. Also a great product. You just got to make sure your dog's in good health. Microchips. We microchip everything now. Horses, dogs, cats. We even microchip tortoises, believe it or not. We get lost tortoises all the time. Hey, is somebody missing their sulcata? We can microchip your sulcata. So I don't think they're going to run away from the fireworks, but Southwest ranches, so, okay. Register your microchip. I can't tell you how many animals I scan, and it seems like such a no-brainer. And they're like, oh, cool, there's a microchip, and then we call, and there's no owner link to the microchip. So if you're going to do the, pay for the microchip to be implanted, you have to register it. So whether it's a horse, dog, cat, whatever, register your chip so if your animal does run off, it comes home. Okay, what else? Spend time with your animals. So you're a distraction, and there's really nothing that they would rather do than be with you anyway. So maybe on the 4th of July, don't go to the party, or New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Have something at your house, turn on the TV, stay with your pet. Just being in the house makes a huge difference. Being around when things happen. If you're down the street, you're not going to know what's going on at your barn. So just, try and, if you think your animal's going to be a little psycho, be a little proactive. Just be there with it. Be there for them. Any questions? That's it.
All right. Great, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I have some folks that filled out cards to make some comments or questions. So I guess we'll run through those first, and then afterwards, I'm just going to open it up for anyone else that would like to speak. First one is Romy.
Good evening to everybody. I'm Romy Judy Roy, and we have IEC International Equestrian Center in Rolling Oaks. I have been everywhere. I'm originally from Switzerland, but I live here since 2006. Horses get very afraid. We lose horses that are worth a fortune because of firework. They get injured, they can have a tendon injury, they are competing. So I think as a community, we all say always we want to be rural. Why can't we stay rural? Like Wellington, where we go to horse shows, they are not allowed to do fireworks because it's horse country. And I know you said something about the law, I'm not a lawyer, but I think common sense in a community where we all pretend, or we do love animals, horses, goats, cows, cats, dogs, and everything, I think we should protect these animals. And I feel maybe if town would send a letter to every single person explaining that, because I don't think people who do firework very often understand the damage they are doing. And the fireworks these days are so huge and so dangerous that if it would be just simple little fireworks, nobody would have a problem. But what we heard on the 4th of July, it was simply horrible. And as Dr. Garcia said, we needed to give the horse tranquilizer. We need to stay with them, and even staying, giving them hay and so on, it's a nightmare. It's absolutely a nightmare. And I think I really would appreciate if the town would send a letter and say it in that sense, like people should love animals enough that fireworks are not more important. And the second thing I experienced after the 4th of July, there was so much nastiness. People who defend, oh, it's unpatriotic not to have fireworks. You know, I think this should not happen. I think we should figure out how we can have as little as possible fireworks and put signs everywhere, like in Davie, no fireworks.
Great.
I know my time is up.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Karen. Covier? Okay. 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 Awesome. We'll look forward to that. All right. Clara Del Risco?
Hello. I understand you're saying that there's a state law, I guess, that would supersede any local town ordinance. I'm wondering if you could provide us with that statute so that we can look it up. And then possibly more importantly, if this is something that matters to our town residents, and I think it does, could you petition or bring something to the attention of our governor and ask for them to pass exceptions to that law? It sounds like it's a blanket law that doesn't take into consideration the neighborhood.
Right. Right.
And maybe we can be the cause of bringing about some sort of an exception.
Great. Yep.
Do you
Yep.
have that statute handy by
Yeah.
any
Keith,
chance?
you have that?
Chapter 791, Florida statute.
Chapter 791, Florida statute. And in fact, last year, just, I don't want to get sidetracked by this, but just because there's a lot of discussion about it, last year, we did go to the state legislature looking for an exemption for our town, because the prior year, another town had gotten it, and it was Wellington, but we were not able to get it. It was not even heard. They would not even take it out of committee for us. And so we're trying again this year. So clearly, the legislature is something that we've been working on for a couple of years, and we're continuing to work on.
So they give a town-by-town exemption, not something in the law that says,
Well, you want
Would
to?
like me to address
Yeah, go
it real
ahead.
quickly? So 791 Florida statutes is what regulates fireworks. The Florida legislature a few years ago said that fireworks can be fired off as of right during Independence Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. They did put a section in their regulation that said that a municipality may continue to regulate fireworks. The Florida legislature meant in that section that municipalities can still allow it on all other days. They didn't mean regulate, meaning that we could regulate it to not occur.
eliminated.
Eliminate it, thank you. So Wellington went to the Florida legislature first because they have a vibrant equestrian community as well. And they said to the Florida legislature, we would like a special act of the legislature to be able to regulate fireworks, particularly on Independence Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. The Florida legislature passed the Wellington bill. It was the first municipality that came forward, and they actually gave them what they were looking for. The town of Southwest Ranches the following year took the exact Wellington bill and changed the name from Wellington to the town of Southwest Ranches in hopes that the legislature would agree that we had a similar equestrian community, and therefore if the council chose to regulate fireworks on those additional days, that they'd be able to do so. The Florida legislature went to several committees. When it got to the last committee, they basically looked at it and said, well, we know Wellington just did this. Well, that means that everyone's going to start doing it if you guys are now coming in next right behind them. And as such, we're not going to approve this bill. We're going to deny it. Based upon them not moving our bill out of committee, our town council decided to do two things this legislative session. We once again submitted our local bill. It's been formally submitted a few days ago now. It's being heard for first reading coming up December 21st. It's not a public input meeting. They're going to announce publicly under state law the town of Southwest Ranches published its fireworks bill. We then have to put it in the newspaper. You'll see it in the newspaper. And then it comes back for public debate, which hopefully everyone will support it at the local delegation, to approve it to send it to Tallahassee. If the local delegation approves it to go to Tallahassee, it runs in conjunction with all the local bills. Because we failed at doing that last year, and through the support of Representative Bartleman's office, we also are drafting a state law. And what the state law would do would clarify that language in 791 to make it where it says regulation. That regulation means you can regulate either up or down to make it clear that the municipality would have the rights and control statewide over the fireworks. I believe that the state law one is more difficult to get passed because I think that the fireworks have very extensive lobbyists, which is how they got their bill in the first place. I always thought the local bill was the way to go, but we've been recommended by Senate leadership to try to do it statewide as well. So our council has done a two-prong attack this year, and we'll keep everyone posted.
So we're doing our best. We're doing our best from a legislative standpoint.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Jennifer?
Jennifer Dacton. I live in Rolling Oaks. I understand that everybody wants to have rights and be able to do fireworks. Is there a way for us to maybe designate areas that's away from livestock, allow people to set off certain ones, or if they're going to set it off near livestock, other animals, dogs, anything like that, maybe we go with the silent fireworks. That's a new thing that they're really starting to push. So I really hope that could be something that we could look into. We also have to remember that it's not just the animals that are affected. We also have veterans that are affected by this, and we also have autistic people that have problems with it as well. And although we try really hard, we can't always keep them safe. The other thing too is that I have a microchip reader, so if there's ever any problems, I'm home all the time, so I can scan animals as well.
Awesome, thank you. And then Harold.
I don't have a comment on the fireworks.
Okay, all right, awesome. Okay, so that was those ones that were signed up. Is there anyone else that would like to? Sure, go ahead.
So I'd like to better understand how, as a town, we can't be more restrictive than the state law. So that's something I'm asking of the attorney of the town. Because generally, we can be more restrictive.
No, we've been preempted by state law. The state can preempt
State
you.
law can't preempt you if you're more restrictive, only less
The
restrictive.
state law is more restrictive than us in this case.
Not if you say no fireworks.
Okay. It works the reverse as you're thinking. In this case, the state has fully said there is allowed to be fireworks on these 3 days.
Right.
Once they say that, you are preempted. They've even told us that. They've preempted us on those 3 days. we can regulate anything but those 3 days.
Okay, so
which
that-
is why we've gone forward with our
That's
local
fine,
bill.
but if they've already given precedence to Wellington, they can't just say everyone's going to say this, because they've already provided precedence to Wellington.
Well, that's our
So
argument.
any equestrian community also gets precedence, because there's a reason why we don't want fireworks. And believe me, I don't live in a community that has horses. I live in Landmark. We don't. We should, but we don't. But I had 3 dead birds in my pool, baby birds, on the 5th of July. They fell out of the nest. The mom dropped them in the pool. I don't even know how they got there. But they were living in nests in my fans, and all of a sudden they're dead. And it's unnecessary, because we have all these communities around us that do amazing fireworks that we can all go out and enjoy. And we see them even from our own homes. So there's no reason whatsoever that we are a rural community that's trying to be pseudo-rural by saying, yes, we're rural, but we're going to light off fireworks and scare all our animals and everything that we represent as rural. And we'll kill all the animals or some
Well,
animals or
I mean,
injure
I don't
them.
want, no, I don't think that's, I don't think that's appropriate to put our town in that light. Certainly there are individuals that are
They're part of our
focused
town.
on, that are focused
they're
on
part of our
fireworks,
town.
and there are individuals that are obviously focused on their animals.
Okay.
And the
I
reason
understand
why
every
the
time you have,
town,
But you just spoke, they're part of our town.
absolutely.
And so if it's legislated one way or another, then they have to abide, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason why we're having this meeting here tonight is because we want to do everything we can for our animals that we possibly can. We are putting out all kinds of signage to promote not using fireworks. We're doing, we're putting in a newsletter, putting signs out on the road. We're doing everything we can to do it within, please, let me finish. And so as a town, we're trying to promote what's best for our animals, and that's why we're all here. So I just would say, let's keep it in a positive. One of the things that I wanted to do in doing this was to share those things that we've seen that have worked. We heard a lot of great ideas, a lot of great recommendations earlier. If there's any further recommendations that you all are aware of that maybe you haven't heard yet, I would love to have that come out in this meeting so other people can benefit from what you've learned. So, is there anybody else that would like to? Yeah, go ahead.
When they say fireworks, do they, does it, sorry. Are they saying any fireworks versus, because I got like these guys behind me that looks like they're shooting off bombs. And I have my next door neighbor who backs up and he's shooting rockets on my donkeys. I try to put them in a corral
Yeah.
and into the barn. And they're banging themselves. And I confront the neighbor and he says, it's 4th of July, go away. Can't call the cops because if it's not illegal,
Right.
he
That's the
doesn't
problem.
care, point blank.
That's the problem.
So is there a restriction, firecrackers or M80s or stick of dynamite? Because a stick of dynamite's a firework too. Is there a limitation of
there's
what
a
you
legal-
can shoot off?
There's a legal definition of what it is. Yeah,
I'm just-
I mean,
I did say stick of dynamite, okay.
yeah, yep. Yeah. Debbie?
I don't know. I know during the July 4th holiday that Davy had a hotline. So if fireworks were going off either before or after for a number of days, I don't know, is that going to be in place for the New Year's Eve and New Year's holidays? So that, because I know at our house, they started days before and they went on the whole week.
Yeah.
So last time they had the hotline, but it stopped the day after, I think, the holiday. So maybe if they have the hotline, maybe they take it out till the end of the week. And I will
Right.
tell you, I did call the Safer Watch and reported it when it was the 3 days later and my dog was going
Yeah.
crazy. And, you can only give her, we give her drugs only a couple days a year. You can't drug her all year round for
Right.
whatever.
Right.
And the Thunder Shirt does work. It works to a degree. But if we can have that hotline where if they can respond, that would be helpful.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, Newell and then Danelle. Yeah.
Newell Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. I was going to say something similar to what Debbie, because I live the other end of the street from her. But what I'm thinking is that it's part of the solution type situation. Probably won't help too much this time because it's too close to get it out. But we can do it. Is that Davie Police be extremely proactive and the town council to take a look at what are the penalties for this period of fireworks before the holidays that are legal, when they are illegal. What are our penalties? Is it a code enforcement type thing, or is it a misdemeanor type situation? And make it very painful after the first event. Police goes out, tells them shut down right now, and if it continues, then they get nailed with a very sizable penalty at that point. Because we can take care of our animals, because I used to trank our horses for the holiday, but I can't trank them for a week and a half.
Right.
That's dangerous. You can do the one night or one day, but you can't do it for the 5 days before and the 5 days after, and that's exactly what people are doing. Well, I got some left over, or I got some more, and so they shoot them off. And then, you know, during the year, someone has a birthday party or something like that, and they shoot off fireworks for that. That's extremely illegal. Goes out, just like the excess noise ordinance. You know, you go out, shut it down. They come back the next time, they get nailed.
Right.
And let's make it painful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Danelle D'Alfonso Outlaw, and I live on Hancock. This has been a passion of mine for a couple years now, and both of my neighbors shoot off fireworks. Actually, one of my neighbors does a whole show behind his house, 2 houses down. But the one next to me, I was able to convince him to try some of the. They're not noiseless, silent, but they're very low noise, and they were very beautiful, and they sound like the poppers. They were dramatically, and through I did a ton of research seeing if they were feasible for us to actually do, because I knew that struggles we're having with the state. I actually talked to a distributor in England, 2 distributors here in the U.S., and they do them for autistic children all the time, and with livestock, and it's such a better. It's getting them out. The biggest distributor in the U.S. that will ship here, but there's a smaller company in Phantom in Palm Beach, or West Palm, up in there. They only have 4 or 5, but they have them in stock. And all I did was went to my neighbor. I knew he was going to fire them off because he has 3 boys. He went and bought them. Beautiful. It was wonderful. My other neighbor, I know that's a battle I'm not going to win, but if we can't get them eliminated, there's better options. And there are people out there that can help. And maybe if you're not going to eliminate it, because we have people in here that they're just building really big homes, and it's rurals because they just want the land, not the livestock. Here's a trade-off. You can solve beautiful works, beautiful lights, but let's remember there's neighbors that were here before you that care about their animals. So it's just a way to kind of reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Awesome. Thank you all for coming out. We've got our regular council meeting. We're going to take like a 5-minute break, and then we'll start in our regular council meeting. But Dr. Garcia, thank you for coming out and sharing, your wealth of knowledge, and appreciate everybody else that came out. And let's just we got some great feedback here, things that we as a town can continue to work on, and we'll, I'm going to spend time with Andy, and we'll get some of these out there as well. But if anything else, a lot of times I'll be at a meeting like this and I leave, and like 5 minutes later, oh, that's what I should have said. Let me know, and we'll get the word out there. So, but thank you all for coming out. Have a good evening.